Most experienced developer will tell you to make your first game small because making a game is so damn difficult. So keeping it as simple as possible is very solid advice, obviously. But what if you're somebody like me that always end up with a very big idea and can seem to be able to make a small game? Well, in this video, I want to talk about that. If making a short game is actually the right choice for you. Hi friend, if you don't know me, I am Gael. I am a solo indie game developer and I am currently working on my survival horror game called Silent Corruption. And this game is fairly big, especially since I am doing it on my own. So I've been thinking a lot about maybe making a short game first, since this is my first commercial game that I am releasing on my own, and that's why I'm making this video. But first things first, let's going to talk about what is a short game. At least for me, a short game is something that you can do full time, under 6 months, ideally under a year. And this is, if, as I say, full time, if you spend on it for around 30 hours a week. And I know that a lot of us don't have this much time to spend on our games. So what can be 6 months for somebody that is working on their game full time could be a couple of years for us that work on our games part time. But I think this still applies. And also, a short game is a game that is very simple in the development sense. Like, for example, it has one of two core mechanics, uh, very simple assets, or basically it's a game that is inside of your comfort zone, meaning that it's something that you can tackle for the most part. Like 80% of the game idea you can build it with the current skills you have and the current resources you have. So this is, for me, is a short game. It's a game that you can more or less do and release it as quick as possible. And of course, what are the pros and cons of making a short game? Well, to start with, making short games are obviously a lot easier to handle, thus they're going to be a lot easier to finish, and probably the chance to finish it is going to be a lot higher if you're trying to make something bigger. And since it's easier to develop, it's also faster to develop, which means that you can make more games in a year than if you would make a longer game. And if you want to have game dev as your career, obviously shipping shorter games is going to help you build that portfolio and sell more games that will help you fund your studio, which is at the end of the day what we have been able to make our games and keep making our games. So making short games is a way where we can fund our studio in a more viable way. Even if you ship a game and it flops, well, you only spent on it a few months, so it's not as bad as if you spend like 3 to 5 years on a game that doesn't sell or sells really poorly. So that obviously is like the biggest pros, or making short games, is a lot more viable than making a longer one. But the cons, in my opinion, of making short games, or at least these are the things that made me not want to do shorter games, or I find difficult to keep my game small, is because when I try to make my game idea smaller, then it also means that I have to compromise my vision, and it also means that the games that I have on my head, I'm not going to be able to do it, because maybe I have, like, for example, for Silent Corruption, I have a long-ish story that would not fit on a small game or a shorter game. Like, for example, if you want to make the Lord of the Rings, I don't think it's going to be enough to make it in a half an hour movie, I'm not saying my story is as long as the Lord of the Rings, but obviously is also not suitable for a small game. So in my case, that makes it more difficult to make my idea shorter. And also, I guess I haven't had ideas to make shorter games that are interesting, because most of the games I play are usually rather long, even if the indie games. I obviously play AAA games, but I mostly play indie games because I think they're better usually. And even the indie games I play, they're rather long. And I guess I haven't been exposed to enough small games to have a reference of what I can do, and maybe that's my issue. Maybe I just need to play smaller games. And yeah, I guess because of that, I don't really have an idea of that is interesting enough for me to be like, okay, yeah, I want to do this. Um, I mean, at least that's been my experience so far. And because lately I've been listening to a lot of podcasts and all that, and the most common advice that all of them tell you is to make your first game short and, rather simple so you can handle it. I mean, I'm not doing that. Um, I've been feeling really guilty because I I feel like I'm doing it wrong, or the game I'm working on right now, I shouldn't be doing it. But at the same time, it feels wrong not working on Silent Corruption because I am having so much fun. And also because I always had this back and forth with I should make a short game instead of a long game. That made me stop and starting and stopping the development of Silent Corruption a million times over the years since I first got the idea for this game. And honestly, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to stop working on Silent Corruption again. I feel like right now I am in a very good flow with the game, and I feel like it's going really well, even if the development is a bit slower than I would like it to be. I feel like it's progressing steadily, and honestly, I don't want to give up that to work on a different game that is shorter just because that you're supposed to do that, or it's easier or whatever. So I've been trying to think very hard about ways to working on a small game that may be interesting for me. For example, I thought that maybe one of the things I could do is to not completely stop working on Silent Corruption, is doing like a spin-off that will be very simple and very, very short. But I was still working technically in the Silent Corruption universe, so maybe that could be a bit more motivating. Another thing that I thought doing was to take in a couple of months and just work on this game, on a different game. It doesn't even have to be Silent Corruption related. And maybe, if it's just a couple of months, it shouldn't be too bad. But I also know that, yeah, a couple of months is going to become 6 or a year, or, because this always, making a game always takes way longer than you initially plan. So that doesn't interest me very much because I don't really want to stop working in Silent Corruption. I feel like right now I'm on a very good state with the game. I'm in the flow with it. I'm having a lot of fun. And I really don't want to stop working on it because it has taken me so long to come back to this project that I feel like if I stop now, it's just going to be a disservice to the actual game, like it doesn't deserve that. So yeah, it feels very wrong right now stopping working on Silent Corruption to work on a different game. So then I got the idea. Well, what if I don't stop on working on Silent Corruption, but I also work on this small game on the side? So basically, I'm making two games at the same time. And yeah, this may be a very dumb idea, but it also kind of feels right for me. But at the same time, if I'm going to do this, I need to lay down some ground rules that, I need to follow always. The first one, that this side short game, it needs to be super, super simple with having just one or two core mechanics and that's it. And if it has a story, it needs to be extremely simple story, even like a cliche story. I don't care. It needs to be really, really simple and maybe like even in the background, so it's not like the main focus. And the second rule is that the moment I start to feel like it's too much or the burnout is creeping in, like I'm going to stop and I'm just not going to do it, or I'm going to take a rest, because my main focus is always going to be Silent Corruption. And this other short game that I want to do on the side is just going to be that, a side thing. And then the third rule is that I'm only going to work on this game one day a week. In my case, probably Fridays is the day I feel like will be the best to work on a side project. So yeah, I'm going to follow these three rules, and hopefully this will work. This is obviously an experiment to for people like me that can't give up working on big titles, but I still want to make a small game because I want to ship a game as soon as possible. I don't want to wait 5 years to ship a game, and maybe this way it will work for me. I don't know, we'll find out. I've also thinking about all these short games, like all the pros of the short games. Maybe realize that I also need to approach Silent Corruption like if it was a small game, and I need to work on it like if it was a short game. And what I mean by that is that I need to I need to build first the most very basic core mechanics that I need, to the most bare bone art, just like cubes and geometrical shapes, and keep it as simple as possible, but build enough stuff or enough features that will help me test my vision and my core loop and all that. Because I was kind of falling on the trap of I was starting to making art when I still haven't implemented all the main mechanics, and there are a lot of things I haven't played tested yet, and I was already building art. Like I was building Jane's apartment. Jane is the main protagonist of my game, and like that area of the game is like the first 3 minutes of the game, so and it's never going to be seen again. So why the hell I'm working on that now? Like it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I need to approach Silent Corruption as if it was first a small game. Basically build like a small version of my vision, like the bare minimum. And if that bare minimum version is fun and it's engaging and it's scary, even with just cubes and just simple lighting and stuff, if that is already good, then is when I will start adding stuff. So yeah, I guess the moral of the story is you should build a small game if it feels right for you, and if it doesn't feel right and you still wanna build your big game idea that you have, then you should also approach it first. Like if it was a small game, like what is the smallest version of this idea that I can build that is more or less in my comfort zone of skills, and I can do it right now. And I hope these little experiments that I'm doing, making a short game on the side, can also go well. And if it doesn't go well, it's fine. Still, at least I'm trying different things. and maybe will give you ideas to work on a smaller game or, work in a different way. And by the way, if you like this channel, I also have a blog where I write more game dev advice and all my personal reflections on my game dev journey, on the solo game dev journey in general. And if you want to support this channel, you can click on the link below and subscribe to my blog. It's completely free. And if you feel even more generous, you can also subscribe for it's just $5 a month, and that will really help the channel, because unfortunately this channel is never going to do enough revenue to support the channel itself or my game or the work I do. So if you want to support me, that's the way you can do it. You can subscribe to my blog, obviously subscribe to this channel and like this video so that the algorithm hopefully will send it to other people. Yeah, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to keep learning about the solo game development journey, you can click on this next video. See you there. Bye!